All right, I'll call to order the city council meeting for February 24th, 2022. If everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Dave Webb.
Here.
Kevin Kadada.
Here.
Tim Rude.
Here.
Cindy Fuhr.
Here.
And Scott Palava.
Here.
Okay, tonight's agenda goes through 10S. Is there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Councilman Palava,
Second.
second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of the minutes from the January 27th, 2022 regular meeting. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes?
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
Motion by Councilman Kadada,
Second.
second by Councilperson Fuhr. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have a public hearing tonight. So I will call to order this assessment hearing for the 2022 Street and Utility Improvement Project. Welcome to the audience. Nick Williams is our city engineer from WSB. He'll be giving a presentation. I think most of you probably know, but Russ Blasak is our Public Works Director, and Joel Erickson is our City Administrator. Mr. Baker there is our city planner. All right, Nick, it's your show.
Yeah.
All right, good evening, Mayor and City Council. This is the assessment hearing for the 2022 Street Improvement Project. City personnel, as part of the project, is Joel Erickson, City Administrator, Russ Blasak, Public Works Director, and myself as the City Engineer. We'll go through a brief presentation. There are copies of the presentation in the back, and there's also comment cards. So why are we here this evening? So the purpose of the meeting is to give people, the property owners, the opportunity to express concerns about the proposed special assessment. After the hearing, the council will consider a separate agenda item and make a final decision on this final assessment amount, payment period, and interest rate. A little history of how we got here. So in 2006, the city created its own capital improvement plan. It evaluated the conditions of the streets and utilities in the city. That plan was updated again in 2020. Identified priorities for street reconstruction maintenance, and you can see over the past 15 years, the city has done quite a few projects over that span. This is just a map showing the projects completed recently. You can see that the city's adopted a pretty aggressive infrastructure improvement program. All those colors are projects the city has completed recently. This is the 2022 Street Improvement Project map. This is the proposed project. We have 3rd Avenue Southwest between Central and Colorado, 4th Avenue Southwest between Railway and Colorado, Alabama Street, 4th to 2nd, and then on Arizona Street, we'll be replacing water main only. There are 2 alleys associated with this project from Central 2nd, Alabama and 3rd, and Alabama 2nd, Colorado and 3rd. A little timeline, so back on September 9th, 2021, we had a neighborhood meeting regarding the project. Public improvement hearing was held on September 30th of 21. We opened bids on January 18th of this year. Tonight is the assessment hearing. Depending on weather, we anticipate to start construction on May 15th of this year with construction completion in early September. final lift of paving will go through one freeze-thaw cycle, and that will be placed prior to June 30th of '23. And then 2-year warranty inspection will happen 2 years after acceptance. So pros improvements, so complete replacement of the water main and services to and including the curb stop throughout all the roads. There is a segment of new water main actually on 3rd between Alabama and Railway we'll be adding. There are a few spots of sanitary sewer repairs we'll be replacing, some point repairs. There is a segment of sewer pipe we're actually replacing with a large sag in it on 3rd Avenue. Complete bituminous removal and replacement with new sand subsection to help with drainage, especially given the soils out there. Installation of drain tile and sump pump service of property line. Storm sewer is actually in pretty good condition except for the structures themselves. Catch basins and manholes have deteriorated to the point where they need replacement. And we will be replacing the curb and gutter throughout all the roads. So cost. Construction unit prices are based on the low bid received. We did receive 7 bids. And we go with the low bid, lowest responsible bidder. Construction contingency is included, 5%, and we also have some indirect costs for the bonding, engineering, legal, and administrative costs. So going over those costs, we have street, alley, surface improvements totaling approximately $876,000. Sanitary sewer improvements, approximately $53,000. $320,000 in water main, which is the second largest cost. Storm sewers, about $187,000. That gives us a subtotal of $1,435,395. That is the low bid. That's the low bid came in at. You add in the 5% contingency, we're at approximately 1.5. And then adding indirect costs, we have a total estimated project cost of approximately $1.8 million. Financing. So the city will issue general obligation bonds. Assessments to Bennington Properties will contribute to that. That totals about 21.5%. I'll remind the council that issue general obligation bonds need to assess at least 20%, so we do meet that requirement. Other funding sources, general property tax levy, and enterprise funds from the water and sewer accounts. So this is the proposed assessment area. Properties receiving benefit from the project are proposed to be assessed per Minnesota State Statute 429. Everything in yellow you see on the map is a residential property, and then a couple blue you see are commercial properties. Assessment rates. Single-family residential is proposed to be $14,000 for a single-family unit. For properties that are only receiving water, there's properties on Arizona, and then one other property is the 3920. And then the commercial, industrial, high-density residential is on a per front foot basis at $244.80. So this is a sample amortization schedule, given a single-family lot of, with assessment rate of $14,000. Again, there's a 15-year period to pay back the assessment if property owner chooses to do so. This just gives you an example of what the principal payment would be, the interest over the 15 years, and then the total payment. I will mention that in the first year, the interest is about double what the second year is, and that's really just due to the time between the property taxes aren't due until 2023, so you have about 675 days between now until the first payment is due. So that's why that interest accrues each day, and that's why you see that number a little bit higher, well, double what the other.
So if a resident doesn't want to pay interest, when is the due date for the full balance?
Yeah, I was gonna get to that.
Okay, sorry.
So, no problem. So they have 30 days from today to pay without interest. So that's really important to hear for everybody. If you don't want to pay interest, 30 days from tonight's meeting is when you need to pay without interest. So, there are some also deferral options available for those who qualify. So property must be homesteaded, 65 years or older, retired due to permanent total disability. There's median family income requirements, member of family called active duty, and then I remind interest does accrue until payment. So there was a letter sent earlier this month to every property owner that was listed on the assessment roll. That did list the assessment amount that the property is responsible for. There is no invoice, the letter is what the number is, so if you, I'll just remind everybody, if you do wanna pay without interest, to do so by, March 28th of 2022.
Is it pretty clearly on the notice?
Yes.
That, obviously, it's been kind of a little bit of a sore subject over the years, you know, people miss that notice and stuff, so, okay?
We've extremely simplified it.
Okay.
It can be prepaid anytime, so, if you wanna pay in 3 years, you can pay the whole amount at that point, whatever's left, and there will be no penalty, and then, the first payment again is at 2023 property taxes, so we have the $1.88 per day, and it counts for 675 days of interest. So some resources available, so the state of Minnesota website that governs the assessment policy, the chapter 429, is available there. Again, there are handouts in the back if people wanna grab those. And then the League of Minnesota Cities also has some good information regarding, public finance improvements and special assessments. So contact info, you can contact myself or Joel if there's questions. If this moves forward, we will we'll be sending out information on construction notices for people, so everybody will know what's happening. We'll send out mailers and a newsletter in advance of construction, so folks are aware of what to expect, and they'll have my contact info and our construction team's info, where you can call me anytime. With that, I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. All right, well, first of all, this is a public hearing, so we certainly will take questions or comments off the floor. So if anybody has anything, now would be the time to speak up. We've talked in the past, if anybody has any specific issues, any medical issues, access issues, anything like that, special occasions, just feel free to stay in touch with Nick, or you can certainly call City Hall, talk to Joel or whatever. And do we know who your project superintendent will be for the job, or observer?
We do, yeah, we have a
Okay.
same individual last year.
Okay, so that'll be in the mailer with his phone number and all those kind of things.
Absolutely, yep.
Okay, okay. And everybody understood that the prepayment, we've touched on that pretty extensively over the time, but, if you wanna pay your assessment and pay no interest, you have to pay now within the next 30 days. So with that said, if anybody has any questions, any concerns, any issues on their properties, now would be a good time to bring it up.
I have a question.
Sure.
How we get this deferral? What do we have to do to get the deferral?
Got the hardship deferral? Okay.
Yeah,
Or
whatever.
the 665, okay. Did Joel or Nick, you want to talk on that?
Sure. So that form that I gave you,
Yep.
fill that out. If you have any questions, I can help you fill it out. But
All we gotta do is
Yep.
just fill that out and bring it back down.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's, over the years, we've tried to simplify the process as much as we can, so, yeah, absolutely. Gary?
Yeah, so the water line I see is gonna go out to 601 Railway Street Southwest. And right now that water line is going way out into the field where it's not hitting the bad soil going out there. So down the road in the future, if that water line breaks, who's responsible for that water line going up to 601 Railway Street? Because that soil never got resolved along number 4 there. It's still a nightmare, and the sewer system and everything is a nightmare, so who's gonna be responsible for that after I pay the assessment to get a new water line out there?
Okay. You want to talk
so
on
the
that?
city's policy is the property owner is responsible for the curb stop to the main. If it happens between the main, the property owner is responsible for the curb stop to the house. The property owner would be responsible for the first $1,000 if it happened between the main and the curb stop.
And at what point in time? How much warranty is on it? We're still
We'd have
doing.
a 2-year warranty.
2 year after the close of
25.
the project? It's 2 years after the close of the project, right?
Correct.
So it could, basically, it's a 3-year after install approximately.
Yes.
Okay. And have, the brakes have all been on this side of the curb stop, I think, from what I recall. They've always been on city property.
Water mains?
Yeah,
Correct.
the brakes.
Water mains, yes.
yeah.
I think Gary's referring to his service line that has had problems in the past.
Okay. So are we doing anything with his service line beyond the curb stop?
Just the curb stop and the stub to it.
Does that answer your question, Gary, or? Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Do you like how the previous phases turned out? I mean, is it, everybody happy with that, or? It's a road, huh? You just, water runs downhill and. Okay. Yeah, as Nick shown on the slide there, obviously for the last 15 years or whatever, we've done a lot of work on infrastructure in town here in the streets, and I think they look pretty good actually over the years, Okay, any written comments to the public hearing?
I didn't receive any, no.
Okay,
I move we close this public hearing.
okay, motion by Councilman Kadada.
Second.
Second by Councilman Palava. Last call. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This public hearing is now closed. Presentation of citizens' petitions and comments limited to 2 minutes. So if you're not on the agenda tonight, now would be your opportunity to speak on any topic. Anybody? Okay, on to the consent agenda. There's a few items tonight: the monthly bills, the treasurer's reports, the board and commission minutes. Consider approval of an application and permit for a 1-day to 4-day temporary on-sale liquor license requested by the Knights of Columbus, Council 16225. Consider approval of a Minnesota Lawful Gambling LG 220 application for exempt permit with no waiting period submitted by the Knights of Columbus, Council 16225. And consider approval of a Minnesota Lawful Gambling LG 240B application to conduct excluded bingo submitted by the Lonzo PTO. Would anybody like any of those items pulled for discussion?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Councilman Kadada,
Second.
second by Councilperson Fear. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of Resolution 2022-06, a resolution adopting assessments for the 2022 street and utility improvement project. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Well, with the assessment hearing just happening, the next step in the process is to consider formal adoption of the assessment roll. As the city engineer reviewed in the presentation, assessments for single-family residential are proposed at $14,000. Commercial, industrial, high-density housing at $244.80 per foot, and then single-family water only, $39.20. It's proposed to assess $390,632.80, which is just over the required 20% minimum to issue general obligation bonds. We're proposing an interest rate of 4.9%. State statute sets the max that assessments can be levied over at 30 years. We're recommending that the assessments be payable over 15. As far as the fiscal impact, it'd be the cost of the assessments at just over $390,000. As far as alternatives, it would be not to approve the proposed resolution and the project doesn't proceed, or not approve the proposed resolution and approve it at a later date, resulting in the project being delayed. And then included with the staff report is the proposed resolution and assessment roll.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that, or pretty Pretty standard,
Yep.
standard procedure.
No questions? I make a motion to approve resolution 2206.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Kadada, second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of resolution 2022-07, a resolution accepting a bid for the 2022 street and utility improvement project. Mr. Erickson.
All right, well, with the council just adopting the assessment role, the next step is to consider approval of the actual construction contract. Bids were opened electronically January 18th. We received 7 bids. BCM Construction was the parent low bidder at $1,435,394.88. It was 14% below the engineer's cost estimate. The fiscal impact obviously is the cost of the contract, in addition to soft costs, engineering, legal, things like that. Alternatives would be to not award the construction contract. By approving the proposed resolution, the council is directing the mayor and city administrator to enter into a contract with BCM, and then directing the administrator to return the bid bonds for the unsuccessful bidders.
Okay, you satisfied with the bid?
Yes, sir, we got some good bids. So
Pretty
given how much construction has gone up, it was nice to see the competitiveness of the bids and 7 bidders, and I think the price we got was pretty good.
Was this the same company that did the project last year too?
Correct, yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right. I'll make a motion to award the contract to BCM.
Motion by Councilman Palava, second by Councilman Webb to award the contract to BCM Construction. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of a proposal submitted by WSB in the hourly not to exceed amount of $178,370 for the construction services and testing for the 2022 street and utility improvement project. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. I think the last 22 street project item is considering WSB's proposal for construction services and material testing. As was just stated, the proposed amount is $178,370. That accounts for construction administration, staking, observation, materials testing, and as-built drawings. All the services are required and necessary. The city engineer and myself did review the proposal. The majority of the costs are in construction observation, which is based off of a 15-week construction period, and represent just under 13.5% of the total project costs. The proposal this year is consistent with last year's proposal as well.
I think from what I've noticed, construction observation is to be responsive to the residents. And I think we've got that in the past. I know there's been some issues that have happened. There's been some damage, and from what I understand, it's got all resolved, acceptably, I guess. Is that what we're hearing at staff? Everybody's good with observation?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Anything else?
Make a motion to accept WSB's proposal.
Motion by Councilman Kadada,
Second.
second by Councilperson Fuhr. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, consider approval to authorize staff to send a notice of default letter to A1 Excavating Incorporated and Merchants Bonding Company for the 2nd Avenue Southwest Street and Utility Improvement Project. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This dates back to the 2nd Avenue Southwest project, which was done in 2020. We'll remember last summer there was a water leak that couldn't be detected. It finally was detected in one of the services in the driveway of the Villas of Lonsdale. Upon us determining where the leak was, A1 contracting, the contractor on the project was contacted to make the necessary repairs. As you can see from the photos included in the staff report, we've got one of it just being paved, and then another one of it when the actual work is in progress. The picture of the work in progress pretty much sums up the damages. Since it was a city project, we were contacted by the property owners to bring it to resolution. We've been working with the villas and A1 since September, and have come to the conclusion that there's not gonna be an agreement. Kind of seem to be on polar opposites of what they want done and what is willing to be done. At this point, really, the city's only recourse is, well, I shouldn't say the only recourse, I mean, we could go and make the improvements ourselves. But to get the contractor to get the improvements done under the contract would be to make a claim on the bond.
Do you have an estimate of the cost repairs?
Between $7,000 and $9,000.
Just from what I've experienced over the years, filing on the bond, we certainly agree with that, because we have to hold the contractor accountable. But it seems to me lawyers' fees get to add up more than the damages.
Without a doubt.
So I'm wondering, other than, upon sending the letter and all that kind of stuff, are they still taking phone calls? Is there still negotiations that can happen? Is there any of those kind of things, or?
I would say based off of our last conversation with the contractor, no.
You don't think they will, or? Okay. Because I would suspect once the bonding company is notified, they'll contact the contractor, and then somebody will be contacting you, but I guess my.
Anticipate that as well.
Yeah, I guess my point is, obviously you want it, placed to have new condition, but on the other hand, you don't want to spend $30,000 chasing $7,000, So I guess just so we're cognizant of that as we go down the path, because it can get away on you pretty fast, some of these fees,
Given the situation that if it's occurring this way, does this affect their position as being a responsible bidder on any future projects? I mean,
That's pretty dicey.
okay, I don't know, that's why I'm
We ran
asking.
into this
We
before,
didn't
though.
hold them
and-
unresponsible, though we accepted that party
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
at the time.
Right,
Okay.
right.
I'm
Yeah.
just thinking from
Yeah.
a standpoint of, if they want to, bid on any of our projects moving forward, it
Yeah.
would make sense to clear it up.
Yeah, I suspect they have a reason why they don't think it's theirs, I would imagine, because A1, they're from Wisconsin, I think they're pretty reputable, they did a big job by McStop.
I thought they've done a couple of
Yeah,
projects.
so I'm surprised,
They,
they must just feel that,
they're just too far apart.
okay.
The two parties are just too far apart.
Well, like I say, upon sending the letter of notice of default, you just wanna, monitor the fees and those kind of things, but yeah, you gotta get it fixed, get it resolved.
Right.
Oh,
Mayor, I can,
sure, sure,
I can make a comment on that briefly, if you don't mind.
no, absolutely.
I'm David Kettle, I'm the city attorney. I'll say the same thing I said last time, which is you don't see me very often, which is a good thing. We've got an agreement that I don't show up unless there's a need for it, and that you haven't seen me for a while, that means you haven't been sued for a while, or you haven't been sued somebody else, so that's a good thing.
Right.
Mayor, just to answer your question about will there be further discussion, I think the answer is maybe. The bond procedure requires that first we notify the bonding company, and then they have an option to request a meeting with the contractor and the city to try to resolve the issue. So or they can try to deny responsibility. They could say that this was outside the scope of the contract, it's not covered by the bond. But if they admit that it's covered by the bond, then they can request a meeting and try to resolve it. So there can be further discussion. I would hope that maybe the bonding company would try to bridge the gap or put some pressure on the contractor to work with the resident, but we don't know until that happens. But there is the option for further negotiation and discussion.
Good, good, yeah, good. Thank you for that. Okay, so the action you're looking for tonight is basically to authorize staff to send the letter.
Correct.
Is what you're looking for.
I think it makes sense to start there, and then we can always negotiate after that, which, like you said, that's probably what will happen.
I move we approve staff to send a notice of default letter to A1.
Motion by Councilperson Fuhrer, second by Councilman Webb. I guess just to follow up on those attorney fees, are they generally included as part of the settlement, or is each party on their own, or how, usually what happens?
I think each party's on their own, Mayor. The bond does not allow for their payment of attorney's fees.
Okay, okay, so, just keep an eye on things, you know? So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, consider approval of change order number 5 for the police facility. Melissa Stein of Wold, welcome. You made the trek through the snowstorm.
I did, yeah, it wasn't too bad, not like Tuesday.
Yeah.
Well, Mayor, council members, thanks for having me today. As you know, we're just here to, for 2 items, but this first one is just to approve the pay app from this past month, and to give you guys kind of an update of where we've been. So I don't know if any of you have been to this site, obviously I know Scott has, but all of our exterior windows are in. If you guys remember on the front, like our front entry, we had some brick, we had a brick wall that was a different brick than what was on the thin brick, or on the precast. That's all installed. The EFIS is in there, and I believe they were installing the curtain walls, or in the process, like this week, going to be installing the curtain walls for exterior. So our exterior is almost fully enclosed. The curtain walls were the last, I would say, open areas that just had poly in them. The interior, they have furred out, essentially they built all the gyp walls, all the CMU walls are in there. They've taped and kind of sanded, and then so the next process would be painting all of those spaces, and then once those are painted, then they can do kind of the floor finishes and kind of get the detailed finishes, if you will, started. And then mechanical and electrical is kind of just rolling right along. Since our walls are up and framed, all of the electrical outlets, AV items have been installed, as in like the rough-ins for those. The AV contractor, which is a different package, came out, made sure that they were coordinating time-wise on that as well. So we're all working in the right direction.
Nice, yeah, nice.
Making really great progress.
I've been pretty happy, pretty satisfied with
Yeah,
progress?
yeah,
Okay,
it looks really, really sharp in there now.
good.
And,
Okay.
very, it really helps to have all the walls
Yeah.
with the rock on them and everything. You can really visualize it, and it'd be a very impressive building.
So when, I know we talked some dates as far as completion and substantial completion and all that kind of stuff. What are we thinking for that?
Sure. We could, so that is the second item of
Okay,
why I'm
oh,
here. So we can
okay.
jump into.
No, we
that if
could,
you
well,
want.
we should finish the
Okay.
paper. We'll do the paper. Well, I guess as far as the budget items of the police station, I think it looks to be, we're kind of on track here and everything's good and. Yeah. So, okay, well, so this pay request number 11. Okay,
I make a motion to approve pay application number 11 in the amount of $271,759.85.
motion by Councilman Palava.
Second.
Second by Councilperson Kadada. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now consider approval of change order number 5 for the police facility.
Yeah, so this change order is mainly a scheduled contractual piece. There is no dollar value associated to it in any way, shape, or form. As you guys know, we've obviously had some pretty big delays on this project due to some manufacturer quality product issues. So today, the change order 5 is really to set contractually I would say, substantial completion date, which originally, if you guys remember, when we first bid it, was in December of '21, then it was moved to March when we had our steel issue, and then when we had our precast and our material issue with that, it is now moving to June. So June 3rd, I believe, is the date that you have on there, and that would be for building completion. So what we did, instead of having just one substantial completion, which really means that's when the contractor moves out and the owner can move in and all those items are done, we've split it into two, knowing that we want to get the building done, completed, so that we can get our furniture in, we want to get our AV people in, typically they come in after the fact, and then knowing that because we're right on the cusp of spring and we're not quite sure what's gonna happen there, the second phase that you will see on change order 5 is the second date of July 1st, which is really just the site and paving improvements. So, and that's really contingent on the weather, weather conditions, road conditions, when we can open up to get those, everything.
So when's realistically are we going to move in? Would you say, would we move in right after the building completion, or we're gonna wait till it's all done, or what are we thinking?
Yeah, so we have had some conversations and we are gonna use that July 1st date as kind of a owner occupancy date. What that does is, gives the city some time and the PD to kind of be in there, work out some of the kinks, make sure everything's kind of working very smoothly. It gives our, furniture vendors time to come in and install without having contractors in there as well. And then our AV individuals, having them come in, installing the devices and making sure that, those are kind of the last pieces that get installed. So making sure that they have appropriate time. And then again, like I said, gives a couple weeks for you guys in the city and PD to kind of take a breather, figure out maybe some of the miscellaneous items that aren't maybe working quite right, things we need to troubleshoot, just making sure everything's up and running before you're fully functioning out of that.
I think too, grand openings are important, all that kind of stuff, but I think this particular one is extremely important because it's a new facility, the city's invested a lot of dollars into it. So I guess and I don't know what date works for everybody, but we should keep that in mind, that we allow, even if it takes, like an afternoon or whatever, to have the public, feel comfortable coming and seeing that would be nice. So other than that, Scott, obviously you've been pretty extensively involved in the meetings, and you're satisfied and all that?
Absolutely, and the general contractor, Key Construction, they've been, working super hard to try to keep everything going, and as many times as there's been, changes that have happened, they've been working to keep stay ahead of it. And, Ed said, the other day, I'm a couple of days ahead now, but, just logistically, they're doing their due diligence to stay ahead of stuff.
We're on.
Yeah,
schedule.
yeah,
We're never
yeah,
ahead.
no,
We're
but
on.
it was just in his mind, he was a couple of days ahead, but we don't wanna wreck that, but, it's just the fact that they're working very hard to get it, stay on schedule, and, the quality of the work, it looks really good.
Well, like we talked, all's well that ends well, right? It's the plan, so.
Ultimately, it's behind our schedule that we wanted, but if we'd be rebidding this project now, it would probably be another 15% higher than what the budget was. So I think all in all, it's just a little matter of time, and it's been a tough few years for building trades to get stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you just think if you compare it to that light rail, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's.
Right,
Yeah.
we're a
So
little
you're
bit
right.
ahead of them.
Yeah, so we're pretty fortunate where we are, you're exactly right. So,
I move we approve change order number 5.
Okay, motion by Councilman Kadada.
Second.
Second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, thank you very much. So we have a distinguished guest tonight. Presentation of the Lonsdale Economic Development Authority's 2021 Annual Report. Laura Prigge, Lonsdale EDA President.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Mayor and council members. It's another year, I can't believe it's so fast, right? Sheesh. So I am here to just tell everyone about the activities that have been going on with the Economic Development Authority Board. If you have any questions, obviously, you can let me know. First, we did welcome a new board member last year. Bonnie Simon has joined the board, and she has been a fun and welcome addition with great ideas, sometimes outrageous, but mostly super good. We met with the chamber and the Old Town group to discuss some sort of working collaboration, just to make sure that all of the businesses on Main Street and retail can work together instead of against each other. And then we finally were able to complete our Connecting Community and Business, the Business Retention and Expansion Program that we entered into with the University of Minnesota Extension Office. So that was really exciting. They laughed and we laughed because it was truly the longest program in history. So when you have a pandemic in the middle of an 8-month project, it really makes a difference. So we were able to finish all the surveys, we were able to go and hold a task force meeting. We did the commencement, so they did a graduation from their program. And then we established 3 community committees that meet regularly still, and one of them is Business Variety, one of them is the Business Alliance, and then one of them is a Business Succession Group. And so these 3 groups meet pretty regularly just to try and come up with different strategies for the businesses based on the feedback we received from those surveys that we did. We were also a sponsor of the Chamber of Commerce Street Fair. Based on our feedback from the Connecting Community and Businesses, we did sponsor a couple of lunch and learns with the chamber on business support, and then also on utility savings rebates. And so that was kind of fun and entertaining and informative. We also established a new policy for COVID funding to businesses, nonprofits, and residents. We reviewed and discussed off-premise signage. I think that comes up every few years, so we reviewed it and discussed it. We actually terminated our exclusive list agreement with Saron Properties for the business park, and then we also started a agreement for 6 months with LoopNet to market the city properties for sale. We discussed but did not submit a small loans grant to Smith. We discussed the downtown business signages and banners. We decided to do an upgrade on the banners to refresh the downtown area for seasonally, actually. We're kind of excited. We did approve the EDA's 2022 budget. We received and approved a marketing proposal from APG, who is our digital marketing group, to continue running ads digitally for the business park. And that's targeted mainly toward Faribault, Latona, Mankato, and we can change that as we feel we want to. And then we had some real fun ideas to discuss, like a community foundation, similar to the one that they have over in Montgomery. And then also just some other fun things like Shark Tank type activities to spur on some new business and new excitement down here in Rossdale.
You have been busy. Oh my
We don't
gosh.
mess around. We meet once a month and it is aggressive.
For the audience, I don't know if you all know Laura, but she's done just a great job. EDA is the Economic Development Authority of our city of Lawnsdale, and her and Scott and Cindy and a lot of people on that EDA board have done a lot of work promoting the city over the years. You may be seeing some commercials on TV, maybe some of the Twins games, you might have seen them, and they've done a really good job. And just to add to some of the excitement that she's talked about, there's gonna be a couple new buildings going on in the business park. This spring, you'll see some construction right away, which is really exciting. And you know, it has to do a lot with the promotion and the networking and all the things you do. So just want to say you do a really good job.
Thanks, Mayor. It's it's tricky because not everything we do is immediately evident, so it's fun when stuff starts to pan out.
It sure is. So, okay,
Thank
thank you
you.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, consider approval of resolution 2022-08, a resolution accepting a donation from Crane Creek Asphalt. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, and members of the council. Anytime the city is presented a donation, it needs to be accepted by resolution. State statute 465.04. Crane Creek Asphalt donated $500 to the city to be used for the fire department. As I said, to accept a donation, the city must do so by resolution. Donations have to be used to the benefit of the city and its residents, and then based on the conditions set by the city council. The fiscal impact to the city by accepting a $500 donation is $183.10. That's because the city pays just under 37% of the fire department's budget. The remaining balance, as Fire Chief Fluke will go over here on a couple agenda items, is paid for by the balance is paid for by the surrounding townships. Alternatives would be to not accept the donation or approve resolution 2022-08. And then by approving the resolution, the city council is accepting the donation and stipulating that it will be used to assist with purchasing fire department equipment.
Move we approve resolution 2022-08.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Kadada, second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? Although a big shout out to Crane Creek, we appreciate the donation. As some may know, they do a lot of work in Lonsdale, and Rice County, in southern Minnesota. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of resolution 2022-09, a resolution accepting donations in memory of Mike Martins. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Again, same as the last agenda item, statute 465.04 states that cities have to accept donations by resolution and that they have to benefit the residents. The family of Mike Martins has decided that monetary memorials made in his name will be donated to the Lonsdale Fire Department. At this time, the fiscal impact is unknown, and then the alternative would be to not approve the proposed resolution. And then similar to the resolution that was just adopted, donations will be accepted, and they shall be used to assist in purchasing fire department equipment.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Palava.
Second.
Second by Councilperson Fuhrer. Any further discussion?
I would just like to say, you know, I think that's a very touching thing based on from the family. I mean, Mike and Carol, you know, created Treats of Lonsdale, and, you know, that was
Big deal.
even though it's gone, it's still in a lot of our hearts, you know?
Yeah,
And,
big deal.
so it was, touched many of our lives, so.
Right.
I'm glad that they're willing to continue on, affecting Lonsdale even though he's gone.
Good, thank you for those comments. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Presentation of the 2021 activity report and consider approval of the proposed 2023 Lonsdale Fire District budget. Dave Fluke, Fire Chief. Welcome, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Just a little bit on the last presentation. I believe right now donations are up around between $200 and $300 for the Mike
Okay.
Fund. They keep trickling in, but
Sure.
I think probably in February they'll probably be able to come up with an exact.
Okay.
Yes, the fire department does appreciate donations that individuals give us.
Yeah, sure.
We'll
Okay.
put it to good use.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's start off with the Lonsdale Fire Department 2021 activity report. Basically, it was a very busy year for us, another record year. Just briefly go over City of Lonsdale. Probably had 175 total responses, about 49% of the total calls. Total calls altogether with City of Lonsdale and Townships, 358. Plus 69 canceled calls. Sometime we'll get halfway down at the fire department, we'll get called or canceled, or we'll get halfway out for three-way get canceled. We've been seeing the beginning of, over the years, more canceled calls. I've been trying to get the word out, and I think just, they've been trying to try to cancel us if you really don't need us. So we're starting to see more of that. Mutual aid calls, 5, so another fire department requests our help. So total pages, 432 for last year, so that's about a 9% increase. And of those calls, probably 63% of those are medical related. 14 fire calls, that includes CO alarms, fire alarms, structure fires, grass fires. 1052s, that's automobile accidents, 6%, canceled calls, 16%. Members spent 570 hours training, about 74 hours per person, or 24 hours per person, roughly. The 3 new members that we added last year, they have completed their EMR training, so their first aid training. They started fire school, and they're still in fire school, but they're getting towards the end of it. And so far, all three of them have worked out quite well. Did you have any questions on the 2021 revenue, expense, and expense summary report? I guess the only comment I have, a lot of stuff that I ordered in 21 hasn't come in yet. You know, we're starting to see some serious backlog of equipment, fire turnout gear, for example. You used to be able to get it in 2 months, now it's 6 to 8 months. I think I just received some fire hoses I ordered 3 months ago, so
Really? Yeah.
a lot of this stuff is
Yeah.
pushed out a ways. You know, and some of my vendors I talked to, a lot of the problems is, you know, our manufacturer can build half the product, but they can't get the parts from another manufacturer to complete the product, so.
Right.
But we're still able to get stuff, and our first aid equipment, PPE stuff is, they've started, you know, been able to supply us with that stuff pretty regularly. Fire equipment is starting, you know, it's kind of bad.
And then the vehicles, the trucks, everything's hanging in there pretty well.
Yeah, we did sell a rescue squad, well, the guy came and picked it up, last Saturday.
Okay.
So we got, $2,050 for that.
Okay.
And that was through, govdeals.com.
Okay, so you're satisfied with that, I assume?
I didn't get a call. No parts fell off the side, but, we went down to Sioux City and apparently they're gonna turn it into a camper.
Oh, really? Okay.
You have on here about the 1984 tanker truck, that that's be the next proposed truck to replace?
Yes, that'd be on the,
Okay.
Yes, so we're in the process of, putting together with form truck
Mhm.
company, and we're in the process of getting bids together.
So that would be to be replaced?
That would be to replace our, the oldest tanker, it's like 1,500 gallon.
Okay. Is that the one that Public Works uses for?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they use that most.
would Public Works then, would we be looking at moving that one over to Public Works, or would, for the jetter and all that stuff, or would we be using the new one for that type of thing? Just,
I don't know.
But that's a good discussion to have before you put it up for sale, because you probably won't get that much for the truck anyway, right? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good,
That'd be my recommendation if we could do that.
okay.
good to bring it up, get those two
Yeah, I
talking.
don't,
Yeah,
if they wanna use the new one, I mean, whatever, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely worth hanging on to if someone else is interested. So,
yeah. That's a good point, Scott.
There's no questions on 2021, I will, propose 2023 budget. We did have a meeting with the townships, a couple weeks ago, went over everything, they did approve the, proposed 2023 budget. Kind of the big, kickers here, big increases, wages and salaries went up quite a bit because of the, we're starting to see a lot more calls. Fire contribution went up some, workers' compensation, insurance, kind of bigger items too. Hopefully we'll get the delivery of the tanker in 2023. We also, added on there, proposed replacement of our UTV, and we're gonna propose to replace that in 2025. We'll probably replace it with a side-by-side, and so we're gonna start putting money away in the capital outlay for that. Other than that, we still have the next year, 2024. So planning on replacing the air compressor. That's the air compressor we use to fill out our SCBA bottles. It's a special air compressor. Just don't go to Menards and buy it. It's kind of a specialty item. New breathing equipment, SCBA, and the new pump truck. Any questions on that? I guess one more bond sales, part of the budget, about 37% of that, so it'll come to about $140,380. And that's about an $8,000 increase from 2022.
Okay, anybody have any other questions? Well, it sounds like you're doing a good job, chief.
Trying to.
No, you are. It's, like I've said that over the years, I mean, the Lonza Fire Department is pretty well respected in the entire southern Minnesota, actually. It's a really good department.
We got a pretty good crew, and
Yep.
new people coming on seem to be,
Right,
doing a good job also, so that's good to keep that going.
good, good. Okay, anything else? Thank you for the presentation, sir. Good job.
And will we approve the 2023 budget?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Kadada, second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Consider approval of a quote submitted by Guardian Fleet Safety in the amount of $20,310.51 for squad equipment and installation. Jason Schmitz, Chief of Police. Welcome
Thank you,
again.
Mayor, members of the council. Lansing Police Department is on a 2-year squad replacement schedule. It's scheduled to produce squad in 2022. Each year, the city budgets $25,000 for squad replacement, currently has $50,000 budgeted. The new squad was ordered back in December of 2021 for a purchase price of $34,766. The total cost of the squad and equipment comes to $55,076. We have approximately $10,000 in forfeiture funds that will be used to make up that difference. The squad car being replaced is the 2013 Ford Taurus. Some of the equipment, such as the light bar control panel, radar, camera, are 14 years or older, and some of that equipment just won't transfer. Guardian Fleet Safety did our squad in 2020, which was a new build, and that price was $12,893. A few items included in the 2022 quote that was not in the 2020, like the removal of the equipment decals, stalker radar, and the watchguard camera, which that total came to $8,814, just to give you an idea of how we compared back to the 2020 build. And I've been very pleased with the work that Guardian Fleet Safety has done. If you ever want to check them out, go on their website. But it would be my recommendation to accept the quote for $20,310.51 from Guardian Fleet Safety for the equipment and installation. And then included is the quote. So that. Do you have any questions or?
Will they hold that price, being that it takes so long to get the vehicle, will they honor the price by the time you get it? Okay.
I just don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Everything's such a lead time.
yeah, it's crazy. Okay,
I move we approve the quote from Guardian Fleet Safety for $20,310.51.
motion by Councilperson Fear.
Second.
Second by Councilman Kadada. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
How are we doing on that other one? Is that back in action? or-
No, that one's done. Received word, I think it was last week, that it is ordered. So right now, the squad is up at Guardian Fleet Safety. They're removing all the equipment. And it was able to, they do have vehicles that we purchased through them.
Oh, really? Okay,
So, we're in that process, but.
okay. Okay. I guess when we get down the path and get all figured out, maybe just kind of bring it to the council.
Yep.
Good. Okay, thank you. Okay, consider approval of resolution 2022-10, a resolution supporting housing and local decision-making authority. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This item dates back a couple years when our state senator, Rich Draheim, co-authored a bill at the state capitol that would strictly regulate, reduce local control of zoning. In the past, the city council's adopted resolutions in opposition to that bill. Since then, staff has been meeting off and on with surrounding communities, administrators, mayors, believe Representative Elkins, the gentleman who is sponsoring the bill this time, legalize affordable housing, came to a meeting and presented what his proposal was at the time and allowed us time to provide feedback. As I said, there's another bill that's been introduced or will be introduced during this session. The theory behind the bill is that zoning pertaining to housing and city fees is the main reason housing costs so much in Minnesota. The bill wasn't approved, but contained items such as we couldn't regulate, the city would have to, couldn't require lots larger than a quarter acre. Eliminating planned unit developments, changing how the cost of the building permit is calculated, things like that. Lobbyists that support preemptive zoning and less local control never discuss factors like labor costs, land, materials, profit, et cetera, as driving costs of housing. In theory, the market will dictate the cost of housing regardless of the cost to build it. As I just said, the council's discussed this topic several times in the past and fully supported local control. What is included in the packet is a proposed resolution that I believe all of the communities in the area have adopted and are looking for Lonsdale's continued support in this, I guess, campaign. The League of Minnesota Cities, as well as also looking for resolutions like this. Also included in the staff report was some info from the League on advocacy toolbox, housing and development. What effect passing the resolution has? Probably nothing. But I guess I still would recommend that it be adopted, so our position is clearly stated that we oppose preemptive zoning.
Right. I definitely agree with
I
that.
agree with that 100%. Our decision should be made here, not in Minneapolis.
Right, that's right.
I move we approve resolution 2022-10.
Motion by Councilman Kadada.
Second.
Second by Councilperson Fear. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of Dale Furs letter of retirement from the city of Lonsdale as lead water/wastewater operator. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Mr. Fear submitted his letter of retirement effective March 31st. Just a quick timeline of his employment with the city. He was hired, or essentially worked for 18 years for the city of Lonsdale. He was hired back in April of '04, began working in Public Works in May of '04, was promoted to water operator in October of 2006, and then in 2012 with the incorporation of our water treatment plant into the system, that was incorporated to his title and responsibilities as well. He was a good employee, dedicated to the city, involved in many, if not all, aspects of public work, plowing, maintenance, water main breaks, after-hours troubleshooting at the plants, things like that. We wish Dale the best in his retirement. The fiscal impact will be the difference of wages and benefits as far as what are currently be paid compared to what will be paid. Alternatives, none. He is retiring, and then included in the staff report is his notice.
Okay, it's a long time, 18 years with the city. Isn't it, Cindy?
Yep.
All right, well, we certainly wish him well.
Yeah,
No, we
done
do.
his part.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve Dale Fear's letter of retirement.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Palava, second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval to make a conditional job offer to Piper Nelson as part-time liquor store clerk at grade 1, step 3, $14.42 an hour. Mr. Erickson.
All right, thank you, Mayor. With the resignation of Mike Sinsawa at the end of last year, staff was authorized to advertise the position back in December. We advertised it on the city's website, Lonsdale Liquor's Facebook, and then Lonsdale Happenings as well. We received 3 applications, and the liquor committee conducted interviews January 15th. Based off of applications and interviews, the liquor committee felt that each of the applicants could have more than easily completed the duties of part-time liquor store clerk, but the liquor store committee recommended that a conditional job offer be made to Piper Nelson. The schedule is Thursday and Saturday every other week. The fiscal impact obviously would be the cost of wages, para if applicable. These hours have been budgeted for in the '22 budget. Alternatives would be to not make a conditional job offer to Ms. Nelson, which would result in another applicant being hired, the position being re-advertised or not filled. And then included in the staff report are Ms. Nelson's application materials.
Okay.
They need people there.
Yeah. Yeah, I sure do.
Move we approve a conditional job offer of Piper Nelson at clerk for grade 1, step 3.
Motion by Councilman Kadada,
Second.
second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of Resolution 2022-11, a resolution to elect the standard allowance available under the revenue loss provision of the Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund established under the American Rescue Plan Act. Mr. Erickson.
All right, thanks, Mayor. This was talked about at the work session prior to this. Based off of that conversation, it's anticipated that this resolution would be approved, but, excuse me, as stated earlier, the council has to select standard revenue loss or calculate it. Staff recommended that the standard revenue loss be used. Some of the examples that these funds can be used for: road construction and maintenance, other infrastructure, health services, government administration, staff, admin facilities, environmental remediation, and then some expenses relating to police, fire, and other public safety. Restrictions on the use of the funds would be we can't use them to replenish our reserves, add to a pension fund, pay down debt, judgments or settlements, establishment of a rainy day fund, or other conflicts with the American Rescue Plan Act. The fiscal impact to the city would be minimal because we would have anticipated using the funds on eligible expenses regardless. Just makes it more, there's a broader array of things, expenses that qualify now. The alternatives would be to not approve the proposed resolution, and then included with the staff report is the proposed resolution, and then just an email on from the league on the standard allowance revenue loss provision.
Okay. Get the money, right?
Got all we can. Move we approve resolution 2022-11.
Motion by Councilman Kadada,
Second.
second by Councilperson Pure. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of Resolution 2022-12, a resolution accepting a bid for the 2022 Mill and Overlay Project. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. This is a request from staff to award a construction contract to Crane Creek Asphalt in the amount of $154,538.75 for the 2022 Mill and Overlay Project. Scope of work includes mill and overlay improvements on Industrial Drive between Trunk Highway 19 and 4th Avenue Southeast, 4th Avenue Southeast between Industrial Drive and 4th Circle Drive. And also included in this project is a 200-foot segment on 4th Avenue Northeast where sanitary sewer repairs were previously made, but the road was never restored fully. 4 quotes were received. The bid submitted by Crane Creek was about 6% below the engineer's estimate. If approved, construction will begin in May or June and be complete by July 30th. Funds are available and budgeted for the mill and overlay improvements from the road fund. The 4th Avenue Northeast work would be funded from the sewer fund, since the road repair was a result of that sewer work previously done. Alternatives are to not award a construction contract. It's staff's recommendation to award a construction contract to Crane Creek Asphalt in the amount of $154,538.75 for the 2022 mill and overlay project. That concludes staff's report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does this have a oil and gas escalator in the bid, or is the bid good for a month or two, or everybody's anticipating the oil and reserves to go up?
Sure, no, once the contract's signed, they have 60 days to hold their prices. Once the contract's signed, they're stuck with those prices. So the prices they gave us are the prices they'll do it at.
Right. Although, but you're right, on a MinDOT job or something, there's
Right.
escalators in there that, you're right, though. That's a
Nice
good
to know
question.
up front
Right.
if
That's right.
it does go up. But
That's
Yeah,
right,
if this
good
is
question.
like a multi-year project,
Right.
you would probably have that in
Right.
there, but for something like this,
They're locked in.
their bid price, their asphalt prices are nice and high, so.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. That's a good question, though, good point. Okay,
I move we award construction contract to Crane Creek in the amount of $154,538.75.
motion by Councilperson Fuhr,
Second.
second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? Is there any other miscellaneous projects around town that we could incorporate, Crane Creek to do that's helpful, or that's really the only thing on the docket for this year?
We have one more project after this that's coming up.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of resolution 2022-13, a resolution accepting a bid for the 11th Avenue Northeast Sanitary Service Line repairs. Mr. Williams.
Thank you again, Mayor and members of the council. This is a request from staff to award a construction contract to BCM Construction in the amount of $77,761 for the 11th Avenue Sanitary Sewer Service repairs. Scope and work includes the repairing of 2 sanitary sewer services in the city right-of-way at 832 and 708 11th Avenue Northeast. It was discovered that the service pipe at both addresses have pushed up from the bottom, which has significantly reduced the pipe flow area on those services. Scope also includes roadway patching and restoration as well. Quotes were sent to multiple contractors, but we did only receive one quote. I think that's really due to the depth of the sanitary sewer pipe there, and it's not a very easy project. So BCM's already in town for next year. They already have equipment here, so they're able to take that on pretty easy. The number we got was a little bit higher than our engineer's estimate, but it is a difficult job, and we feel the price is reasonable given the difficulty of the project. Funds are budgeted and available from the sanitary sewer fund. Alternative this evening would be to not award a construction contract. Staff's recommendation that a construction contract be awarded to BCM in the amount of $77,761 for the 11th Avenue sanitary sewer repairs. With that, be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Just to confirm, this is basically an all-in price. Is there potential for overruns or not, or it's?
It's an all-in price. We have quantities. There's a case where quantities could overrun, but we put a contingency in there on some of the quantities, so we're confident they'll be able to do it at that price.
Yeah, because I guess my point, this is for 2 of them, right? Because I think in the past, they were running like, 35,000, 30, 35, something like that. So it's about the right price.
Right.
It's just unfortunate that this goes all the way back to previous engineering back in 2000, and
This is gonna be a harder project because we gotta remove water mains, put temporary water main up
Oh, really?
than in the past, so.
Poor design, poor
This
design.
can't be the trenchless like has been tried in the past. It didn't work very well last time.
This is not, they're crushed to the point where,
Is this the last two? Or is there still one
that we
kind,
know of right now, yes.
or there's one that was kind of marginal, or that's, maybe we fixed that one too.
There were 4 on this street, and 2
Right.
of them that were repaired already.
Right,
That went to the opposite side where we didn't have water main, that has to be removed. So these are the more difficult repairs that need to be done.
right.
The other ones that we had were lined, that were on Fourth
On
Avenue.
Fourth Avenue, right. Right.
So right now, after getting these done, that should have everything off of our schedule that was out there until we come across the next one.
At least these are the ones that were identified and, yeah. Right.
Joel, I know we've asked in the past, but our infrastructure, insurances, anything, nothing covers this, correct?
Correct.
It's a poor design back in the day. Anyway,
Well, it definitely needs to be fixed. It's our responsibility to fix this. I will be award the bid to BCM in the amount of $77,761.
second. Motion by Councilman Karada, second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Consider approval of resolution 2022-14, a resolution reestablishing 116 Alabama Street Southeast, IC Church Civic Center as the polling place for any 2022 special primary and/or general elections held in Lonsdale. Mr. Erickson.
Right, with the 2020 census complete, legislative and easy for me to say, right? Congressional districts were revised to account for population changes. Because of this, all cities are required to establish or reestablish their polling place for 2022 by March 29th. Staff did meet with Rice County Elections and discussed the fact that the Secretary of State recommends polling places have no more than 2,000 registered voters vote at a polling place. And I said, I'm not too interested in that. We just switched to the IC Civic Center. I'm not aware of any issues handling people. If we can push people through on the 2020 election, that will suffice us for quite some time. Plus, given the size of Lonsdale, having 2 polling places would just be confusing. We still have people want come to vote here, and we're, 4 elections in? The IC Civic Center Church was approved by the council in 2020, and even for that's when we approved it, but most recently we approved it for 22 in December of 21, but with redistricting, we're required to reestablish that. Another reason for not having 2 polling places is it's hard enough to find election judges for 1 polling place. And as I said, it'd be confusing to voters where to vote. We still have people come to City Hall to vote. It was decided for now, Lonsdale will continue with 1 polling place and revisit as needed. And as I said, I'm confident that the Civic Center will more than be capable of meeting our needs for a few years to come. There is no fiscal impact to approving the resolution. We had already designated the Civic Center as our polling place. And then attachments included with the staff report are the proposed resolution, and then the prior and new legislative congressional district maps. So, quite the change from 20B in 20 to 58, I believe, in 58A. And then also at the federal level, we're no longer in Congressional District 1, we're in Congressional District 2 with Scott County, Dakota County, Goodhue County, Wabasha County, and of us, and then a portion of eastern Rice County.
Okay, are we good with the polling place?
It works out very well. There's plenty of room. I move we approve resolution 2022-14.
Second. Motion by Councilperson Fuhrer, second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Presentation of 2021 Community Development Reports. Mr. Baker.
We're gonna do another presentation.
Okay,
You wanna split it again? That'd be great.
all right.
Just do the halftime show.
Where's my presentation? All right, there's almost 60 slides, so I'll try to go as quickly as possible. I know it's the very last agenda. Get some popcorn if So this is the 2021 Community Development Report. As far as contents go, there's going to be five main areas that we'll be touching on: population, building permits, land use permits, real estate and home sales, and then land development. We did have recently the 2020 population. We should be getting our new signs like the next slide. Lonsdale jumped 1,000 people over the last decade to 4,686. So you can see there was quite a big jump from 2000 to 2010. Of course, with the mid-2000s, we had quite a few new home permits. Next slide. As far as neighboring cities, you can see that Lonsdale's right in the mix with Elko, New Market, New Prague, and Northfield, with pretty much 4,000 to 5,000 people gained. Obviously, Faribault and Northfield, the larger you are, the more population. Going into the building department and statistics. What we've been trying to do is kind of modernize what we've been doing. We have forever been working off of an Excel spreadsheet, just off of a personal computer. A few years back, we went to a server so that at least if there was a fire or something happened to a personal computer, now we have everything backed up to that server. And to take it a step further, what we've been doing with our new building permit software, if you want to go to the next slide, we have what's called iWork. We just implemented this in the last year. And so it's cloud-based. Kind of Jason touched on it for his project earlier. But being cloud-based, it's not located right in City Hall. It's on servers that are out. And it's worked very well. Mary Jo and myself have been scanning old permits into the system so that they're backed up and saved. We kind of have quite a good system going now with being able to look up old permits very easily just by typing in a few numbers. Next slide. In 2021, we had over 1,500 permits processed with a value of over $36 million. See, obviously, that was quite a jump in past history. So we were very busy this year. Next slide. Total permits over the last 10 years, again, a big jump to 1,500, and then the jump in value as well on the next slide, up to 36.5 million. Next slide. So to account for that, obviously, if you look for re-roofs and re-sides, we had 865 re-roofs, 296 re-sides. Most of the roofs were done. We're going to still get some in this spring and summer. And many of the re-sides you've seen go on in the wintertime, and those will continue into this year. The total value for all residential permits there of almost $30,000. Average project value in Lonsdale not including single-family dwellings, was about $12,000. Decks, fences, and finished basements and those types of permits. Next slide. Again, just showing historically how that's looked over the past decade. Those numbers in yellow stick out there. We're having higher than normal re-roofs and re-side. And you can see when we had the hailstorms that have equated to when we had more permits in for re-roofs and re-sides. In 2021, new single-family dwelling units, total value of over $12 million. The average value, this is just the construction price that they put on their permit. The building official was at $288. Obviously, houses will sell for more than that. The average finished size was just over 1,800 square feet. You can see that there was $12 million in value. New homes since 1990, so a couple going way back. Obviously, back in the 90s, there wasn't very many permits. Then quite a few permits in the mid-2000s, and then the recession came, and then 2008 and 2009. We had 3 permits in 2013, and now we're back to more of a would probably be an average or realistic amounts, anywhere from 35 to mid 40s. 43 for this year. And that's over the past 15 years for single-family dwellings. So the new dwellings, the 43 this year, most of them, 32 were in the Tri-City, or excuse me, the New Prague School District, because that's on the southeast side. TCU had 11. LGI accounted for most of those. Next slide. Southeast section of town, Willow Creek, was 68% of the new development. Next slide. As far as neighboring cities, how did we do last year? We were second in the area with 43 compared to Elko New Market 70. And ahead of Montgomery, Faribault, Northfield, Dundas, and New Prague. Next slide. And for the past 6 years, you can see that Lonsdale is second. Prague, with 235 over the last 6 years. And then obviously if you expand out to south of the Minnesota River, bringing Scott County into it, Lakeville is always the hottest market in Minnesota. And then you can see that people also have built in Farmington and Savage, Prior Lake and Elko New Market. When they can't afford or make it in Lakeville, then south. Next slide. Obviously, the dots indicate how many permits. The larger the dot, the more the permits. Lonsdale's pretty much in the middle, consistent with what's going on in the neighboring cities. See Lakeville, very dominant with Farmington right next door. Quite a few of the permits south of the river. Next slide. Again, Lakeville over the last 6 years. Lonsdale's right in the middle with 235. We did do the one main new commercial permit, because 2 years ago was the bank. Last year, the permit was for the police department. Otherwise, there was 35 other commercial industrial public permits. As far as building and development revenue, so kind of count on about $1,500, the city portion of property tax for every home, which is an estimate. 43 homes is $64,500 that the city would get new revenue per year for just the city of Lonsdale. It's not including the county or the Tri-City United or New Prague School Districts. Sac and WAC, we charge $5,500 for a sewer connection and $4,250 for a water connection. Those prices have pretty much stayed standard over the last 15 years. That equated to $420,000 for wastewater treatment plant. Associated infrastructure. There was $185,650 dollars revenue, and almost $100,000 came from re-roof and re-sides. Wasn't expected. Next. SAC and WAC fees over the last 8 years, you can see how much that generates for the Public Works Department and the infrastructure and lawn sale. Going into land use permits. Next slide. We did have quite a few projects, land use permits, and you can see we do establish an application fee and escrow, so our escrow goes to paying for our city attorney and our city engineer and any other associated costs, so that development pays for itself. Next slide. Real estate and homes. The home sales in the past 6 years, averages around 100, but it's really jumped the last 2 years to 131 and 165 homes. You can see a lot of for sale signs over the past year, so quite a bit more than a couple years ago. Home sales by month, obviously, after school's out, usually June is always high. July was a little lower this year, but August again was big. And then in your winter months, people aren't selling homes as much. So, over the past 6 years, how has value gone? So, average sale price in Lonsdale has gone from $208,000 up to $300,000 just over the past years. Next slide. And then the median follows that from going from 212 to 305. So, if you bought just a few years ago and moved into town, your value has jumped quite a bit just in the last few years. Top sales amount in the last 6 years. So this would be the highest selling property. That last year was $460,000. And that's where those are located in town. So it used to always be kind of in the southeast section of town. It's nice to see that on the northwest and the southeast, we actually have our highest property sold for $460,000 in Loomis House. Next. Home sale prices, price range, you can see that the majority of them now are in that $300,000 to $400,000 range. That's that blue, it's kind of hard to read there. We do have some over $400,000. Land development, vacant lot inventory. This is the inventory that we put together every year. You can see that we are running out of lots. We have 87. It's hard to read, but that's the houses that are developed and the ones that are available by subdivision, and adding full to the neighborhoods over the last couple of years. Infield lots are being developed. Who owns the lots that are left? Whose Homes has picked up quite a few here lately. And NG Properties would be the Welco subdivision. Tim Skuzacek does have 7 up in Valrose Gardens. So this essentially is just saying what's left and what we have. We have a 2 to 3 year inventory recommended. We basically have a year's worth of houses. So we need development now. We talked about this summer and met with some prospective land developers and sent out information. And we did actually mentioned earlier in the meeting that the Bixby property was finally sold here. This is just essentially saying that our residential development fees are not the problem for development. It's the cost of land, it's the cost of labor, it's the cost of materials. Our fees have pretty much stayed unchanged. The city is not to blame for development not happening. Future development land, this just shows, as you guys saw last summer, some properties that are available outside city limits next. And then land already annexed to the city. We have already inside city limits 600 to 800 lots that could be developed just based on the land that's annexed that hasn't been developed. That's all the different properties there. That's where those properties are located. Loomis did purchase Harmony Meadows 2nd edition, and I think their plan is to develop that in the next year to two after they run through their current stock. And the Bixby property was recently sold, like I said. And then the property in the very southeast, they are open to offers. It is not for sale on the MLS, but they are open to offers. So we've been directing people that way, letting them know that that's for sale if they want that. Next. There's the Harriman second edition that Loomis purchased. Third edition is owned by On-Site Marketing. They were gonna do some higher end homes by the cemetery and overlooking the wetland. This would be the north of Shadowstone, owned by Wallingford Properties. There's 100 acres there on the east and then 20 acres on the west side of 96. Bastier Point was proposed a couple years ago. That still could be a potential for modern homes. It is currently zoned as commercial, but council and the planning commission is open to potentially residential. Proximity of the village is Lonsdale there. Bixby property, like I said, was sold. There's kind of an early sketch plan of what it looked like. That was from an earlier developer. About the Willow Creek Heights southeast. And then in our business park, you can see that TMI was the first one to go. Dispatch Trucking sold. Now we've sold the one on the southwest and now the northeast. The only thing left to be sold would be north of Commerce Drive, which will have higher higher visibility for places that want to go along the highway. Next. In our old industrial parks, obviously both of those are full. We have talked with some people in the original industrial area to help them see if they can expand their buildings with different land use permits. Also, there is potential for some additions or some subdivisions in the second industrial park up by our Public Works Department. You can see that in our business park, those are the ones that are all sold. So pretty much most of the business park has been sold except for the north part. And then the city picked up some commercial properties, which would be along Commerce Drive there, south of the car wash and the clinic. That would be for the future city campus, and then some potential commercial development off of 15th there. And public development, obviously we're trying to keep up with the private development, so keeping up our parks and trails, our schools, city facilities, and streets and infrastructure, like earlier in the meeting with the street reconstruction projects. So in summary, we had 1,100 more permits than expected this year. Our iWork permit software has helped tremendously. It takes credit cards. It's easy to use. People can go online and use it, and we don't have to have a line out the door for people getting permits. It's been great. There has been some kinks, and we're still getting used to it, but it has been good overall. Lonsdale will be out of lots in a year. Future land development's needed now. And I think the mayor mentioned that we will be getting some new construction in the business park this spring and summer. Hopefully 2 different projects, 2 different buildings, and then the new police department should be open this summer as well. So, any questions or comments? Everybody's asleep.
Very well put together.
Very good
I don't know
presentation.
why you'd have questions.
Absolutely,
Everything's
yeah.
covered.
Exactly.
I'm
Not
surprised
really
the
good.
average house size is 1,800 square feet. That's,
The finished.
yeah, yeah. I think that's little. That's all.
Very good report.
I thought I had a little house in
Should
there.
be nice if Loomis would finish that, Chris was there.
Interesting.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments, or?
Very good report.
Very good. Okay, if nothing else, that concludes the planned agenda. Department reports, Mr. Blesak.
Just been working on keeping the ice up and snow plowing. We were doing some trimming trees when it got nice there, so just keep plugging along. Now we're starting to get maintenance equipment, or doing maintenance to summer equipment, lawnmower, going through.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Nick?
Nothing for me, just looking forward to winter ending and construction starting.
There you go, there you go. Thank you, thanks for your work. Mr. Erickson?
I got information earlier this week, I think I got put up this week. MnDOT is doing a virtual open house on their Highway 19 project. That's Wednesday, March 2nd, 6 to 7. I've seen it online, posted multiple places, so hopefully people tune into that. The auditors, the city treasurer has been working with the auditors. They were here today. I'm not anticipating them being here anymore, so wrapping up the field work portion of that at least.
Good, good.
That's it.
All right, thank you for all your work, sir. Mr. Baker?
Nothing further.
Okay, thanks. That was a really good presentation. Thank you very much. Councilman Webb? Anything for you? Councilman Kadada?
Park Board meets at 6 PM on Monday, and Planning and Zoning meets on Monday at 6:45. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. And Park Board will kind of lay out their vision, I suspect, for the future.
One of the big topics at that meeting.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilperson Fuhrer?
The EDA met last week, and so we discussed some financial incentive programs that we're working through. We're also doing an RFP for consultants to do, put together another small cities development program. And then working, updated on our digital marketing.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
your work. Congratulations to your husband again, too.
I'll
That'll
tell him.
that'll be exciting. Councilman Palava?
As Councilperson Freer said, EDA met, and then a lot of the stuff on the police department was covered tonight, but I think they said the tiler was gonna be in this weekend to get the tile done.
Really? Okay.
And they're wanna get paint on the walls, so
Yeah.
we're at that point.
Good. Yeah, a lot of good things going on in our community. We're, we really are pretty blessed to be here in Lonsdale, I'll tell you that. Especially when you look at the rest of the world. A couple things, K-check on Monday, so if anybody want to plug anything, just send me a text, otherwise I'll have to ad-lib it, I guess, And another cool thing is the Alonzo Chamber of Commerce is hosting the State of the City address on Wednesday at 1 o'clock at the public library, so everybody's welcome to attend that too if they like. So, with all that, we got a lot done tonight, council and staff, so it's good deal.
Move we adjourn.
Motion by Councilman Kadada, second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This meeting's adjourned.